Been asked a lot lately if there is a secret formula to being successful in car flipping. I share my answer in this episode of Flipping Genius. If you buy and sell cars for a profit, or you want to, you're in the right place. This is the Flipping Genius podcast. I am your host, Randy Lee. I've been flipping cars most of my life, despite having almost zero mechanical skill. For the past dozen years or so, I've been a licensed used car dealer in the great state of Alabama. No matter what the topic, the number one goal of this podcast is to help our listeners make more money. Let's get to it, flippers. Hey, I appreciate all the emails and messages that I've been getting lately. A lot of you are rating me at flippingquestions@gmail.com. That's great. And we're getting some messages at the Car Flipping Forum on Facebook. That is even greater because it gives us a quicker chance to respond. And it seems like a lot of the messages seem to be falling into the category that I'll call secret formula, the secret formula category. and it does make sense because any venture does follow a certain pattern or a certain recipe. Everything from baking a pie to building a successful winning football team to creating a profitable business. You know, there's certain standards and plans that you have to conform to and follow. And car flipping is no different. And naturally, there's a wide variety of specialties that you can follow in car flipping. I mean, the guy who's importing classic cars from south of the border to renovate and resell to collectors is got a totally different focus in some ways than the guy who's buying 10 or 20-year-old sedans and SUVs to rejuvenate and finance in-house to people who only have $750 to put down. I mean, both of these strategies can be very successful financially, but they are wildly different in a lot of ways. But there are certain principles. There are certain strategies and formulas that are actually universal. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to focus on the universal truths, secrets, maybe, that get you to success and get you to profit in the car flipping business. And then when I'm done, I want to encourage everybody to join us on the Car Flipping Forum at Facebook and share your own ideas, your own comments, your own stories, and anything else that you have to share and create a better, more profitable flipping world for all of us. That's what it's there for, right? Now I'm going to grab another jug of Kickapoo Joy Juice because you can see I'm empty. And when I come back in about 30 seconds, we're going to talk about the number one principle of successful car flipping. You do not want to miss this. Hey, thanks for listening. And I want you to consider becoming a flipping team member. And when you do, we will share with you a startup kit that is valued at $250 or more. And each month, you'll get our Flipping Team Member Success Pack, which is also designed to help you make more money. Each and every month, you'll get more bonus material and other information because you're a Flipping Team member. Go to flippinggenius.com and click on the Flipping Team Member button to learn more. We're going to talk about number one. My number one principle behind success in the car flipping business, absolutely. This is it. You make your money when you spend it. Anybody that knows me I've said that so many times, not just in the car flipping business, but just probably in life. You make your money when you buy your vehicle, of course, You got to buy the vehicle right, no matter what type of vehicle you're buying. If you get in upside down, you're screwed, right? You've got to buy it right. And when you repair your vehicle and restore it and rejuvenate it, whatever words you want to use, your parts, your service, all of that, you've got to invest your money wisely. And when you sell your vehicle, again, there's expenses involved. You've got to manage all of those expenses. Now, this may seem oversimplified. It's absolutely not. It is something that needs to be at the forefront of your thinking at all times. I've seen guys buy vehicles. I saw them today. Just buy vehicles stupidly, just because they have to have something to sell. And the fact is that there's a limit to what you can sell a vehicle for. And I don't care if we're talking about a 2004 Toyota Camry with 175,000 miles on it. There's a limited audience for that. Or if you're talking about a classic 67 Camaro that is just fabulously beautiful. Now, sometimes those things are more of an emotional purchase, but you can't get into the habit of being on the emotional side of it. You've got to work in black and white. And I'm not going to pretend that I know about that classic side. So don't give me. I've had a little bit of insight into it just recently. There's a lot of fun to see some beautiful classic vehicles and talk to some people that are actually doing some of that import business, and it's brilliant if that's your thing. But the one thing I know there is you've got to be careful what you spend, and so you make your money when you spend it. It's funny, I know my son, he's not in the car business, but he said exactly those same words back to me because he's heard me say those words in time. And I'm going to go back to that expenditure portion. When you're buying parts, you've heard me talk about that if you've heard me before. Just recently, some flips recently, I was just able to save $100 here, a couple $100 there. It makes a huge difference. Now, if you're flipping cars for $100,000, and some people do, then it may not make that big of a difference. Then the key would be probably to buy the part that fits that market. You got to know what that is. But for me, the key is to save on every single element. Now, I've got to have quality parts that work, but sometimes that can be a used part. Sometimes that can be a off-brand part from a place like Auto Barn that saved me a couple $100 on a part the other day. Tires can be a huge difference. I mean, it can be a huge difference when you sell the vehicle because it's got new tires, but rarely do my buyers are they concerned with anything other than it's got a lot of tread. But that's where I'm working at. That may not be the market you're working in. We're going to talk about that later too. And then service. In my case, as you've heard, and surprisingly yet I haven't mentioned Dennis Johnson Auto Repair until just now. My guys at Dennis Johnson, they do my work for me, and they're very fair with me. I say they treat me like family, but I still have to pay them. I've got to pay them a fair price, and in some instances, that just can't happen. I can't buy that Toyota Camry I mentioned earlier, probably almost for any price, and then pay those guys to put an engine in it and turn around and sell it for a profit. That's not going to happen. Now, if I can do my own service, that could be a different deal. I may be able to go buy a used engine from someplace, but that's the key. Know what you're doing on expenses, and we're going to talk about tracking it too in a couple of minutes. But and then going back, as I said, when you market your product, market your finished product, the vehicle. You've got to keep your costs down. Advertising costs. We all have Facebook Marketplace right now, which is awesome. It's free at the time being. I think that will probably change down the line. There's other tools that are relatively inexpensive, but you've got to also calculate your total costs. And we're going to talk about being legal later. And so for me, part of that cost is my insurance cost, my bond cost, my the cost of my lot, upkeep on that, and all those things come out of this right now. All these things are money that I spend. My affiliation with the Association of Independent Auto Dealers. Frankly, I think it makes me money, but I've got to calculate what that costs. Any other affiliations and associations that I belong to, you can't let your ego get in the way. Some of these things are great to be involved in, and some of them are expensive. You've got to keep track of all these things, every penny, I think. You make your money when you spend it. I've heard myself say it so many times that it almost sounds silly to me, but I know it's probably the best advice that I can give you. I'm going to take one little break here, and when I come back, we're going to talk about the secret number 2. And I only have 3 of them today, and I promise we're going to do some follow-up, but I want to respect your time. Be back in just a minute. You've heard me talk about Jeremy Fisher and his course, 3-Hour Car Flip Academy. Jeremy's course is now available on Flipping Genius for less than $50. Jeremy is a fantastic instructor, car flipper, and podcaster. He's had over 2 million downloads of his material on the internet already, and now Jeremy's course is offered to us at just $50. In fact, I can't imagine that you won't make 10 times that amount on your first flip. Go to flippinggenius.com, click on resources page, and then click on more great stuff, and you'll see Jeremy's course there along with some sample videos. I encourage you to purchase the course today. Right. Told you. Got some more kickapoo. Okay, we're going to talk about secret formula item number 2, and these are all really big. So, and I just call this know your limitations, and don't try to be someone that you're not. I've got some pretty good notes written for this. I'm actually look at those if you're watching the video. And hey, by the way, if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, iHeartRadio, you can listen to it any place, and thank you. That's awesome. If you want to watch the podcast and see our other videos, you can go to YouTube, look for the Flipping Genius channel. We've got about 45 videos there so far, and we're starting to do the entire podcast on video. So every now and then I'll comment about that because somebody's watching me instead of just hearing me. So we talked about you make your money when you spend it. Now I want to talk to you about item number 2, and that's know your limitations. And don't try to be someone you're not. And what I mean by that is, I guess it's pretty straightforward. First, financially, don't get in over your head. Not just don't buy the vehicle wrong. That goes without saying. But if I've had a couple kids recently, and I don't know, they might be 40 years old. That's still a kid to me these days. Contact me about cheap car flips and can I do them? And I was happy to say yes, you can. And even I was delighted I was able to share our little video series we did about it was a 3-hour car flip that we did with a little Nissan just a couple weeks ago. And if you haven't seen that yet, it's a 4-part series. I think the whole thing together is maybe 15 minutes, maybe. I don't think it's even that long. And I made it into 4 different videos, and we bought it and we flipped it, and we just about tripled the money on it. And yeah, you can do that. You can do that. And so if you're walking into this thing and you're saying, I've got a total of about, $600 to get started. The fact is, you don't want to spend all $600 at one time. Can you buy a car for $300 or $400? Yes, you can. Can you repair it and flip it for less than 200? Sometimes you can. So I want to say you definitely can do that. You got to be careful, but you don't want to go borrow $500 and buy an $1,100 car. Don't, you know, recognize where you're at and who you are, and don't try to be anybody else. Don't go too fast. I mean, you could do that first flip and then have your $1,100 and go do a second flip and build up to it. Heard a story about a kid that was flipping mopeds in Africa. Actually, he may be listening to the podcast right now. He wanted to flip cars, but where he was at, he couldn't afford a car. He could only afford first a bicycle, then mopeds, and maybe scooters in between, or motorcycles or something, and building up to buying his first vehicle, his first car that he could repair and flip. So recognize who you are, and don't operate outside of that. Don't get it over your head, and understand your risk tolerance and your family's risk tolerance too. This is really key. If the $600 is all you've got, and you've also got to pay rent, be careful. Be careful. But if you've truly got $600 to invest, yes, you can do that. If you got $25,000 to invest, awesome. You can do that too. Know what your limitations are financially, and know what your risk tolerance is. And I said your families too, because if you're not a single person, if you have a spouse and a family, you've got to take that into consideration too. I want you to discuss that with them, but I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. But I just know I'm good in giving you good advice on that. And then along those lines, how fast do you need to get the deal turned? I think about here. Now, you may have some money, and you may have the ability to buy a vehicle that's going to flip for a nice profit. But what if it takes 6 months or 9 months to turn that because of the repairs and the renovation that needs? You have to look at that and say, can I do that? Can I deal with that? Is that me? Don't be somebody you're not, like I said earlier. And then along those lines, what are your physical skills and your capabilities? What can you do, and what shouldn't you do? And that's a broad question. I've talked before, probably in the introduction today, and usually most podcasts I talk about the fact that I'm not a mechanical guy. That's why I'm always talking about Dennis Johnson and the guys. I'll put some windshield wipers on. I'll swap out a battery. I'll do a little Bondo work. I'll do a few things, but I can't logically do things. I mean, I could probably figure it out, but we'd be talking about a 9-month deal if we're having me do any mechanical work. So I know the things I should and shouldn't do. I recognize that, and that's what you need to do. You need to know who you are and what you can do. Now, I'm not saying you can't learn how to do things, and some people can learn how to do things more than others. But know who you are, and know what your personal interests are. This is a very big deal. If you're a car guy, that's awesome. Maybe you love cars and you want to spend time with cars. That's going to probably help you, because you're doing something you enjoy. But be careful. I know some friends of mine who I'm afraid if they got involved in car flipping, they may be too meticulous and put too much time into the flip, but they could never get the thing ready to go. You got to know who you are. I know I can get the thing ready to go and gone, and I usually forget what kind of car it was until somebody says, "Hey, what about that Camry?" And I can look in my records. We're going to talk about that later too. So know what you should and you shouldn't do. And when you look at your interests, let's say classic cars, sports cars, a lot of these vehicles take a lot of meticulous work. If that's your thing, awesome. If you've got a crew that can do that, awesome. But if it's not your thing, you're dealing with people who are going to have higher expectations than you. Frankly, I'm talking about me. I'm not the guy who's going to do the work for somebody who wants something meticulous. If they want good transportation, I'm the guy. I know that. You need to know that about yourself, and recognize your weaknesses along those standpoint, those sides. Are you going to get the job done? Are you reliable to get the job done, or are you going to never get the job done because it's never perfect enough for you? Know that about yourself. Know who you are. And who do you know? What kind of connections do you have that can not only help you restore the car, but also can help you find vehicles? This can be really key. So once you recognize, and we'll talk more about this later in future episodes, and we have talked about it in the past, resources for buying vehicles, resources for selling vehicles. This is an asset you absolutely want to look into. Who can help you? Who do you have that can help you? You got to be willing to ask for help sometimes too. This is something I know a lot of people don't like doing, but know who you are. And then go back to the time allotment. I already talked about how long will it take to turn it. You got to know that about the deal, but you got to know this about yourself. Is this your full-time gig, or is this a side hustle you're doing? Either one's fine, but you got to know that. So you got to be realistic of how much time you can allocate towards this. And this goes back to that risk tolerance and the turnaround time. You know, what other hats are you wearing? Now, it may be the full-time deal. You may be a full-time car dealer like I am, but what other hats are you wearing? How much time can you commit to this project and know the project and what it's going to take? And I think that covers this one pretty well. You know your limitations, and don't try to be somebody that you're not. So number one, make your money when you spend it. Number two, know your limitations and don't try to be someone that you're not. Take one little break, and when I come back, we're going to talk about number three. It's essential, it's important, and be right back in about a minute. Hey, thanks for listening, and I want you to consider becoming a flipping team member. And when you do, we will share with you a startup kit that is valued at $250 or more. And each month, you'll get our Flipping Team Member Success Pack, which is also designed to help you make more money. Each and every month, you'll get more bonus material and other information because you're a Flipping Team member. Go to flippinggenius.com and click on the Flipping Team Member button to learn more. All right, we are back with number three of our secret formula. Our three steps of the secret formula to success of car flipping. Number one, I repeat, make your money when you spend it. Number two, know your limitations. Don't try to be somebody you're not. And number three, keep it legal. And this has got some depth to it, so let me talk about it. Again, I want to mention flippinggenius.com. You see, if you're watching the video, you see the website there. I also want to mention the Flipping Forum because I want you to share with us after the podcast. I want you to share with everybody your insights. And I bring that up again because we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how I see this, and I want to know how you see it. And by legal, I mean legal. You know, are you operating within the laws of your state? Now, if this is a fling, and you know, if this is a fling, what you're just doing one car or two cars, you're probably fine. But if this is something you're trying to build and get better at, then you want to learn the laws of your state and operate within those. And that usually includes being allowed to sell 4 or 5 cars per year, but we're not going to go into all those details. You really want to check into that. I've talked about it before. Check with your the local independent Auto Dealers Association can help you. Go to our website. You see it in the picture here, flippinggenius.com. Go to the resources page. You can go, we connect to that association. And you can find your association. If you're California, if you're in Alabama, if you're in Arkansas, you'll find the local association there. And you can find some links to rules for your state. You'll also find links to individuals who can help you with that. So learn those rules and make sure you're not in violation of them. The key here is are you jeopardizing yourself and your family's future? It's just not worth it. So that's the first part of legal. The second thing I mean by legal is keep it ethical. Now, these are two different things, really. There's people out there that are flipping cars, and they may not be doing it legally as a car dealer, but they're still incredibly ethical people. I've met them before. My mom always said, she called it the golden rule. You know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I think that's a proper biblical wording from the King James or something. But my Uncle Bill, who's one of the people I admire the most in business, he would have said something like, take a longer view of it. You know, look into the future and do this because you want to come back. And my dad said something that I say it a lot to people when they come to the car lot. I say it a lot and I think of it a lot. You know, do business in a way that you will not have to worry who's on the next aisle at the grocery store. And that's the one that sticks in my head the most. And if you think about it, you see what I mean. And the cool thing for me, and I tell this people all the time, my grocery store is a half mile from my car lot. My house is a half mile from my car lot. I see people that buy cars from me at the grocery store all the time. So it's very, very true. And I believe I'm more likely to get a hug than I am a punch. I've never been punched there, and I have been hugged there. So I think that's kind of a cool thing, and it solidifies that in my head. Think about that. Think about that. Do business in a way that you won't have to worry who's in the next aisle at the grocery store. Now, I think all these philosophies lead to success, both in short term and in long term, and it also leads to internal happiness and your family's admiration. So, you know, do business the right way, and people, they love you, right? And you like yourself. But then going back to my uncle, who was a brilliant businessman, referrals. When you treat people right, you're going to get referrals. And as you know, as we've talked, it's not just for people who buy cars from us, but people who we buy cars from. You'll be the source that they go to, that they ask, hey, do you want to buy this? And we need that, especially, I know I need it right now. This is the time. Cars are tough to get by. Money has been given away, and it's cheap. Cars are being sold at a premium. You've got to have these resources. I am thankful that I have them right now. And repeat customers. You know, somebody that buys a vehicle from you, he's going to refer business to you, but he's also going to come back himself. So that person that sold you that Buick 4 years ago, he's got another one to sell now. And in the meantime, he refers other people to you to sell their vehicles to you because they know you'll give them a fair shake. And that is just dynamite. Everybody knows it's easier to get new customer, easier to get business from your repeat customers than it is to attract new customers. So this is all the results of being ethical. So by legal, I also mean ethical. And by legal, I also mean accountably. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what I wrote down. And here I'm looking not only to keep records for accounting purposes, which you got to do, but also for planning purposes. So you've heard me talk about goals before, or if you haven't, you can go back and hear. I did a real good session on goals. that's a huge thing to me. Set your goals, but then track your goals. If you just write them down and never look at them again, they're meaningless. So set your goals, track your goals, and keep track of all of your expenses. And if you don't know how you succeeded, then you won't be able to duplicate it. And a lot of that has to do with each step along the way. And if you don't know why you failed, you'll be doomed to repeat it. Write that down. Genius. But that's what I mean by legal. You not only follow the law, but also be ethical and be accountable to yourself, so that you can duplicate your success and correct your errors. And those are the three items that I believe are the basis for the secret success formula in car flipping that we are all looking for. And I know there's a ton more. And each week I try to share more and more and more of it with you on Flipping Genius podcast and on the Flipping Genius YouTube channel. And now I'm even pulling together some of these notes for a book too, because it's something I want to do. I can't tell you exactly when it's out, but it's helping me kind of formulate some things, and that's in the works. And as I mentioned earlier, I invite you, I implore you to share your ideas, your thoughts, your questions, and other input on the car flipping forum at Facebook. You'll find it at our site. If you go to flippinggenius.com, if you're watching the video, you see it above my left shoulder. It's always wild to see how I got there. Flippinggenius.com with 1G, and you'll find links to the forum. You'll also find the link to the Flipping Team Member link. Flipping Team Member. I keep telling you about it because, man, I want you to join and become a Flipper Team Member, because when you do, you'll receive a rewards package that I value well over $250, and it includes the forums that I use to track, to set my goals, to track my goals, and to track profit on deals. And while they last, because I'm running out of them, I'll also include one of our cool Flipping Genius golf caps. They're really nice. I don't think I only have 4 of them left though. So hurry up and do that, because once they're gone, I'm just going to erase it on the team member rewards page. So if you go to team member rewards and it's erased, then sorry about that. I only had enough to go for a while. It was purely an expense, but while they last, send me join up and we'll get one out to you. But even without it, it's well worth over $250. The stuff that you get, you'll see it's quite an array, and I'm proud that we're giving you more than you're giving us. And the next episode, talking about that, I'm going to talk more about that first principle, about making the money when you spend it. We're going to talk about buying and discuss the details of how to buy vehicles and how to pay those expenses and make sure that you're going to make a profit, by going into a little more detail about that. And if you have any questions that you'd like answered, please email me at flippingquestions@gmail.com, or better yet, go to the car flipping forum and just search. If you haven't found it yet, if you haven't found it on our website, go and search Flipping Genius under Facebook groups, and you're going to find all of our groups, including the car flipping forum, which is in blue and white like our logo. The other ones are all red. And join it. If there's a group in your area, join that one too. You'll be able to sell your cars there. That they're both free to join. And please, if you do join the group, please tell me a little bit about yourself and why you want to join, because it is a private group. We only let people in that answer our questions, because you would not believe the amount of fraud that goes on Facebook, and we try to block all that. Hey, please share the Flipping Genius podcast with your friends. Subscribe and save us as a favorite wherever you're listening. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the Flipping Genius YouTube channel and share our videos on social media and email and everywhere else. And remember to check the resources page on flippinggenius.com, and you can save money from all of our affiliates, including Tire Rack, Auto Barn, Discount Tires Direct, and even Jeremy Fisher with his 3-hour car flip course for just $49 That's a great investment. I encourage you to do that. Hey, let's work together. Let's make some money. Let's all become flipping geniuses. I'm an old dude with old school ideas. I still find a way to do one-on-one business, but getting to that point takes some new world marketing. My friend Rachel Eubanks has helped me with this, and now she can help you too. Rachel has created a digital course called Creating an Ideal Customer Story. Rachel's course helped me save time, refine my communication, and increase my bottom line. It takes less than 3 hours to complete, and she has it available now at our resources page at flippinggenius.com for only $20. Frankly, it doesn't matter where you are on your path to flipping geniusness, or any other business venture for that matter. Rachel's course will help you make more money. Go to our resources page at flippinggenius.com and get started on your journey to creating an ideal customer story today.